Merry Christmas, Infiniteers! I'm here with Mickey aboard the Black Pearl, which Captain Jack Sparrow loaned us, and we are at the North Pole on a quest to find the Island of Misfit Toys. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with this island, it is featured in a Christmas cartoon that airs every year here in the United States. This cartoon tells the story of Rudolph the Red-nosed Reindeer, and it's based on the classic Christmas song. It's also one of my favorite childhood Christmas cartoons. In the cartoon, after all of the reindeer laugh at Rudolph and call him names because of his red nose, he runs away from home, and in his travels he has many adventures, including a run-in with the abominable snow monster. Eventually, he comes to an island populated by misfit toys. These toys all have a strange quirk or behavior that makes them think no little boy or girl would want to play with them, so they come to the island to make their home with other misfit toys. Of course, by the end of the show, everyone comes to realize that Rudolph's red nose is special, and that they were wrong to be so mean to him. It's a great lesson for all of us that just because someone is different doesn't mean they have no value. It doesn't matter if you're short or tall. It doesn't matter if you're blind or deaf or crippled. It doesn't matter if you're slow or clumsy or if you stutter or have some kind of speech impediment. It doesn't matter if your skin is a different color than everyone else, or you come from a poor family, or you're shy or awkward. Everyone has value, and everyone can make a positive contribution to society. In Rudolph's case, he discovers that his shiny nose is able to light Santa's way through the fog, so Santa makes him his lead reindeer, and after hearing about the homeless toys, Santa decides his first stop will be their island, where he takes the toys aboard his sleigh to find good homes for them. But something else that I've learned about this island is that not only is it home to misfit toys, it is also home to misfit toy boxes. And so Mickey and I have set out on a quest to find the Island of Misfit Toys so that we can bring you some of these lost toy boxes for Christmas. So as we sail along, we'll keep our eyes open here for that island. Uh-oh, there's the abominable snow monster, and he does not look happy. We can't let him do anything to our ship. Oh no! Oh no! Get up, Mickey! That! Phew! That was tough. But we saved the ship, which is a good thing because I don't think Jack Sparrow would be very happy if we let something happen to the Black Pearl. Alright, so as we continue our journey, let's keep our eyes open for the island. And if I'm not mistaken, that's it, straight ahead. We found it! The Island of Misfit Toys. And it looks like there's a whole new group of toys that have taken up home on the island. We'll have to let Santa know about them so he can find homes for them. Yeah, there's an awful lot of toys here that need homes. These poor toys. We'll make sure Santa gives you a good home. Oh, and this is what we're looking for. The doorway that leads to the Misfit toy boxes. I'm going to show you 5 toy boxes that I built to experiment with various ideas that I had. I thought you might enjoy seeing some of my ideas that never made it to video before, so this is my Christmas gift to you. None of them are finished, and some of them are more unfinished than others, but I'll show them to you anyway. But don't ask for build videos for these toy boxes, please, because I have no intention of doing that. In fact, this is probably the only time you'll ever get to see these toy boxes. So let's go check them out. So the first toy box that I want to show you is a prototype for a bobsled game. This was an idea that I had for my Frozen Festival series, and this is why there was no ice palace in that toy box originally, because I had planned to have a toy box door behind Oaken's trading post that led to this mountain. And the idea was that you could come here and visit the ice palace and then take a bobsled ride down the mountain. And the problem is that I experimented with a lot of different ways to do a bobsled game, and none of them worked, so I ended up scrapping this idea. And that's why my Frozen Festival series probably felt unfinished to you, and why it didn't have an ice palace for such a long time. But the first idea that I had was more of a physics-based ride, taking a hockey puck down the mountain, and I'll show you why this didn't work so well. And the camera spins around like crazy. And there is just no way to deal with that. And there we go. And that was not one of the better runs. Get really dizzy taking that ride. And let's take this back up to the top of the mountain. And I'll do this again and see if we can get a little bit further down the mountain this time. But as you can see, this isn't really reliable, and so that's why I had to ditch that idea. But let's try it one more time. I won't belabor the point here, but... Alright. Away we go. And we're already spinning. And we lost all our momentum before we even hit the first turn, because we hit that little corner there. So yeah, that didn't work out so well. Usually I can make it down to that turn down there before it dies out, but today I can't even get that far. So my other idea was to try and make this like a racetrack, where we take the ride down, and I got this actually backwards. Let me go ahead and flip this around. And we'll put it in the middle of the track here. Alright. And away we go. And this is a little bit better if you can drive it well enough. If you can't, you pinball off of this thing all the way down. Well, sometimes you even fly out of the track. Actually, I drove this pretty good today. And there we go. So that was our bobsled ride. And because I couldn't get that, as I said, to work reliably, and you can't always drive that thing so well, that's why I decided to just ditch this game and never included it in my original Arendelle toy box. Let's move on to the next toy box now. The second toy box that I want to show you is my attempt to recreate the Waluigi pinball track from Mario Kart. As you can see, there's a lot of pinballs bouncing around down there, and there's some bumpers that are also down there, but they're hidden by that bridge. Let me see if I can get you a better look at those. There we are. So this was an idea that I had for my Toy Box Racing series, and I was really excited about it until I discovered that the physics balls did not do anything to the race cars when they hit them. The moving pinballs turned out to be no obstacle at all, basically just moving scenery, and that's a shame because I really liked this idea. But since we're here, and since this is a fully functional racetrack, let me go ahead and race it for you, and you can get a good look at it. I've got a racetrack set up over here at the starting line. The Pinball Prix, that's what I called this race.
Hello, Meter.
And once again, I'll let these guys get out on ahead. So this is the chute that launches you into the pinball game. Whoa! Some of these corners are pretty tight. If this idea had worked out, I would have spent a little bit more time doing some polish and getting these things to work properly, making it a little bit more drivable. But since my idea didn't really work out, there was no point in spending any more time on this. Now there's a little shortcut down here, actually two of them. If you go down the side and you drive this right, you can pick up a power-up. But this is a pretty tight area here, so making that shortcut and getting out of there without running into something can be pretty tricky. That's one of the things I probably would have tweaked if I'd had the opportunity. Oh man. Oh no. Oh good. Passed it on. I'm in first place. Wow. I think I'm going to win this thing. Woohoo! Awesome. But that's the Pinball Prix, and like I said, the idea didn't work out, so this will never make it into my Toybox racing series. That's a shame, because I wish this would have worked out. This would have been a fun course if it had. But let's move on to the next one. I built this toy box to experiment with some ideas for flying enemies. Since we don't have any enemy planes or anything like that that we can engage in our flying vehicles, all we have are TIE fighters, I needed to experiment with some ideas for creating aerial enemies that we could battle, because I wanted to have some aerial combat in my Age of Ultron toy box. So I built this toy box as a way to do some experimenting, and the idea was that this might eventually turn into a Marvel toy box. It might still, but I don't have any plans for that. So I have these 4 buttons set up to experiment with, and they're connected to enemy wave generators on the top of that building over there. And let me select the magic wand. You can see that I have a path that's set up going from the top of that building across the gap over the street there to this building. And so that's where I want the enemies to fly. And so my first idea, I'll get rid of that magic wand, I knew I wanted to have the Star Wars droids, some of them, fill in for Ultron's minions. And so the first idea I had was to see if I could get them to fly. And so I connected one to a path with this button. This will drop a Star Wars droid over there on top of that building. And he runs to connect to the path, and gravity takes over. So that didn't work so well. Basically, any ground-based enemies are not going to follow an aerial path. It's just not going to work. So I had to scrap that idea. So then I looked at what enemies we have that fly, and there aren't many, and some of them work just like the droid. They wouldn't follow an aerial path, but a couple of them would, and one of the most promising enemies was the aim drone. So this button's just going to put an aim drone up there on top of the building. He's not going to be connected to any path. And if you watch him for a little while, what you'll see is that he doesn't actually leave the top of that building. Yeah, he's flying, but he's still kind of tied to the ground. He won't actually go out over top of any large gaps below him. And so that's just not going to work because I need him to be able to fly around anywhere, regardless of what terrain is below him. So if we come up here, let's just take him out. Do I want to try to dare it? Let's do it. Ah, missed. Sometimes I can grab a hold of that thing and ride the rail all the way across, but oh well. That would have been really cool if that worked. You'd have been really impressed with me. But not now. Alright, so the next idea that I had was to go ahead and connect him to the path and see if he would fly the path. So that's what this button does. And he does. He's flying over the gap between the buildings. When he gets close enough, he detects me, and he's still up in the air, which is awesome. So for a ground-based aerial attack, this is working really well. I like that a lot. Alright, so then I went a step further, and I connected another one to a path, and I wanted to see if they would just fly around for a while, because typically, if you're going to be doing aerial combat and stuff, he's going to be flying a pattern. And so for this one, I set the Ignore Outside Influences flag on, so that he would ignore me, and just wanted to see him fly the path. So that's what this one's going to do. So he flies the path. Doesn't pay any attention to me. So far, so good. And we have a problem. So there seems to be a bug with this enemy AI that once it reaches the starting point of the path to loop, he gets stuck. And there's just no way to avoid this. They fall off the aerial path and they get into this mode like this. And if I go ahead and shoot him, you'll see he kind of blows up over there, even though he was over here. So this bug just kind of blew that entirely, and my idea just didn't work, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get around the problem. So that turned out to be a bust, and that's too bad. But as you know from my Age of Ultron series, I was able to attach a laser turret to a path, and even though that looked a little cheesy, it actually worked pretty well. The turret follows the path, it shoots back, and it's fun to chase down in a jet. So my experiment wasn't a total loss, but I never ended up doing more with that AIM drone. I do have a couple of ideas for things I might do in the future, but let's see if I can get it this time. Yes! I did. Woohoo! So that's this toy box, and hopefully maybe you found that interesting, and maybe you'll be able to use that little trick in your own toy box in the future. Now let's move on to the next toy box. I built this small toy box in order to capture some screenshots of Mulan for a Saturday Steel post on my blog. I never planned to expand on this or turn it into a proper toy box adventure. I may do that someday, but frankly, Mighty287 built what I consider to be the definitive Mulan toy box, and I doubt that I could improve on what he built. But I thought you might enjoy seeing what I've got here, even though it is pretty small. There's definitely a lot of potential here. So in order to show off Mulan, I set up a little button over here connected to a enemy wave generator, and actually I just remembered I had forgotten to actually attach this before I had saved it way back when. So let's go ahead and do that. New logic connection when pressed. Generate wave. Alright, so we pressed the button, and then I was able to capture some footage of her with her combat moves.
guess all that training really did work.
And I could repeat that as many times as I wanted. So, anyway, I like that. I also had a nice chance to experiment a little bit with some of the San Francisco building pieces and Asgard railings to try to create something that looked oriental. And I think it turned out pretty well. Of course, I've got the Mulan power discs for the sky and for the terrain theme. So that worked out nicely. And I think it looks pretty good. As I said, this has a lot of potential to turn this into a full Toybox adventure, but I have no plans to do that at this point in time. If you want a Mulan Toybox, and I've had a lot of requests for that, I'll put a link in the description to and on my blog to Mighty 287's Toybox. That's the one you want to look at. The last toy box I want to show you today is my pinball soccer game. So we'll pick up a hoverboard, and this takes place in a little arena that's kind of interesting. It's designed to be pretty high because once the ball hits those bumpers and things, it's going to fly. So it's a pretty deep arena. But let's just go ahead and try it out single player, and we'll see what happens here. This is something that I made long before I ever did a YouTube channel. And as you can see, not very well thought through. Having a blaster or something would also help. Let's do that. Let's see, we'll swap since it's not letting me rotate there. And the ball goes a-flying. So it doesn't play as smoothly as I would like, which is why I've never shown it before now. Almost. But it can be kind of fun with two players, especially once those little pinball things start shooting this around. And then it gets stuck behind there. So the idea in theory was nice, and I had these little bumpers behind here to try to keep it from getting stuck behind the... Hey, is that going to go in? Ah! I had the bumpers behind the goalpost so the ball wouldn't get caught behind there. So it kind of helps knock it out, which is good. But you spend a lot of time chasing this thing around and not a lot of scoring. So it didn't actually turn into a good enough game that I felt I wanted to feature it in my Toybox sports series. There we go. I finally scored. Nice. But you get the idea. This is something you can pretty easily recreate on your own. You don't need to see me do a build for it. And it's basically your basic soccer game template, just with the addition of the pinball toys to kind of make things interesting. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this look at some of my Misfit toy boxes. At least you got a chance to see them, since I'll probably never do anything else with them. If you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button and let me know in the comments what you think of my recreation of the Island of Misfit Toys and which of my Misfit toy boxes you liked best. Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you all have a safe and happy holiday. Take care.